During the research segment, I made a questionnaire to receive audience feedback from my target demographic about what they would like to see in a psychological thriller cross-media package. I asked the sample where they primarily found out about films, where 32% of the population said they use YouTube as a tool to find out about the latest films, whilst 22% responded saying that they use the posters to be informed of the films. I learnt from this audience feedback that the trailer needs to be the main focus of the cross-media package, and that this is where audiences discover films the most, so that it is very important to appeal to my target demographic. I also learnt from questionnaire results that the most compelling aspects of films is the narrative. This made me reconsider my storyboard so that the trailer reflected the narrative, following Todorov's theory. I learned from my audience feedback that cinematography is the most important micro-element to them, so I responded by implementing creative shot types, including point-of-view shots, over-the-shoulder shots, when not in a conversational setting, and using hyperlapse photography. The questionnaire also allowed me to gauge what my demographics' preferences were in terms of colour schemes. The most popular result was the blue, white, black tricolour scheme, so in the construction stage I used a blue colour wash. This is evident in my poster where I added a black vignette effect around the edges and used adjustment layers in Photoshop to boost the contrast of blues and cyans after using the black and white adjustment layer, where the opacity was lowered to create a muted colour effect. The questionnaire responses also showed that black and white was an essential colour scheme, and that red, white, black was also a popular result. When I constructed my magazine, I wanted it to stand out from the poster, but also show that it is an ancillary text. Ergo, I used the red, white, black tricolour scheme, responding to audience feedback. I feel like gathering audience response has helped me fine-tune my products into a manageable package tailor-made for my demographic. I also created a vox pop to find out what my target audience would like. I presented them with a selection of possible film titles, and the results were overwhelming. A large majority of volunteers revealed that they preferred the title Silence as opposed to the other options, Haze, Trance, and Turmoil. After learning this from my audience feedback, I decided to use this as my film title, shown across all 3 media products. I put together a focus group to gauge what my demographic felt of real media products within the psychological thriller genre. I asked volunteers a series of questions to find out what worked in the genre and what they thought might be missing. I learnt from my audience response that they liked the realism shown in the Donnie Darko trailer, as it added to the believability of the characters, making them easier to relate to. They also responded by saying they liked the intriguing narrative, so from those comments I responded by creating a non-linear narrative with the focus on a complex character. The volunteers commented that they felt that the trailer that they looked at gave away too much of the narrative, and that this would be better if there was more ambiguity within the trailer. I learnt from this audience feedback I should be selective of what footage and dialogue to make sure that the audience knows enough of the plot to be interested, but not too much that they have no need to watch the film. I experimented with using a black screen as the diegetic dialogue can be heard, responding to the audience feedback where this technique was received positively in the Donnie Darko trailer. However, when I tried to emulate this technique in my own trailer, I personally felt that this did not correspond with the pace of the previous scene, so this technique did not make the final cut. I created a poll using Pollmaker so that I could get audience feedback on what type of background they would like to see on the front cover of the magazine. I posted this poll on social media after discussing the blank space with my teacher. Over 50% of the population stated that they would prefer a text background when faced with the choices plain white background, where 21.5% of the population voted for, an image, where 16.3% voted, a gradient, where 9.3% voted, or a text background, with 52.9% voting for this option. I learned from my audience feedback that a text background would be appropriate with my style of magazine whilst filling up the blank space, so I quoted dialogue from the narration from my script and integrated the title in red so that it would stand out. My trailer received positive feedback shown through the comments on YouTube. From audience feedback, I learned the storyline is easily followed and that my casting choice was appropriate to my chosen genre. Another comment informed me that the transitions and shot types I used were creative and impressive, and that the non-diegetic soundtrack was appropriate to fit the trailer well. However, it also came to my attention that some of the sound segments were too loud and fuzzy in areas. One commenter suggested I added more dialogue between the characters, and another suggested that I lowered the volume of the soundtrack. If I were to improve my trailer, I would lower the volume of the car scene, as one commenter pointed out that towards the end the shouting was quite loud over the dialogue. I would also lower the master volume of the non-diegetic soundtrack so that the sound effects and dialogue can be heard easily. I've learned from this audience feedback that I need to include more scenes with the antagonist in my trailer to make that threat more obvious. If I were to amend my trailer, I would include more scenes involving mirrors, making the character change noticeable through makeup and costume so that it is obvious to audiences that they are the antagonist.